When I'm lugging all this equipment up a mountain and start setting it up, people, you know, they often come and say, what are you up to? Why are you doing this? Why don't you just shoot digital? But if they knew the backstory, there's just such a deep connection. I think wet plate collodion photography pretty much saved my life. I'm up here in the Isle of Skye in Uig. My dad, he'd moved up here and bought a house and was renovating it, and so I moved up following that. It was just my best mate. We understood each other just so deeply. Yeah, like peas in a pod. Skye is the best place I've lived. I really like the option to just go and lose yourself a little bit. Just get out of the way of people and noise and bustle and stuff. Everybody sort of seems to help everybody, and I felt that that was like really my purpose, was to go off and help people and, you know, I guess put myself in harm's way. It's 23rd of October 2016. My dad had sort of retired and went into sort of ministry, and he was preaching at the church, which happened to be across the road from my house at the time. I remember, you know, there was a knock at the door, wasn't expecting anybody, and it was one of the congregation members, and he didn't really have to say anything. I was already sprinting over, and I sort of heard him sort of say that, you know, something's happened to your dad, he's collapsed. So I was sort of straight into CPR. It was a road ambulance, took him to Inverness. It seemed to take forever. And then I went into the emergency room. I remember the senior doctor there saying, "Are you okay with just calling it?" And, you know, that was it. Nothing else he could do. Weird stuff started happening to me. It was just getting really jumpy and sort of really anxious, and I couldn't really work out why, and this kind of went on and got progressively worse. So I had, you know, quite severe kind of flashbacks, and it's like you're right back there doing the whole thing again, or certain bits of it. I mean, a weird one was I couldn't drink coffee for a good few years, actually, because when I was giving Dad mouth to mouth, that was, you know, I could taste that he'd had coffee, and I just like would really set me off. My mate came up to stay with me for a weekend, and I said, "I don't know what's going on, mate." And he goes, "It's PTSD." I said, "But I've never been on a battlefield." And he goes, "No, you need to look at what PTSD is," and that's kind of what started me on this this path of self-discovery with it all, really. The first camera that I actually used was Dad's. It was a Canon AE1. I came across wet plate collodion basically online. I just did a bit of research and saw how technical it was, and it's super hands-on. So I'm thinking tripod and camera here. I think a landscape orientation would be pretty cool. Sort of time to set everything up now. So I'm using a dark cloth. The reason for that is to block out any light, so it helps me see the image and compose everything properly. Okay, so it should be coming more in focus now. Going to go for 2 seconds. 1,000 to 1,000. Don't think we got any shake on it, but I don't know. This is just like the absolute critical thing, is not letting any of the chemicals dry out. It's just absolutely super time critical. Just put the developer on. Seeing some sort of an image coming up. Oh, it's coming up really fast again. It's looking good. I'm really happy with that plate. All the effort's been worth it. It's been good. Happy boy. When I started doing this, it would take me about 8 hours to actually get one plate. So for that whole time, I was completely immersed in something completely, nothing else was coming in my head, which was just amazing. It's like a complete escape. I started shooting self-portraits. I was able to look at myself and realise that I was experiencing these really harsh and tough emotions, but it's like a coping mechanism, which was really useful. So I called that project Mental Collodion. So these are actual prints of plates. The connection here with me biting the chain was I wanted to highlight the emotions and anxiety around antidepressants and drugs like that. You kind of think, like, am I going to need them forever? What happens when I want to come off it? And you kind of just feel a bit sort of bound and chained by them, or at least I did. So yeah, this is what I depicted there. Now for the big question, who's driving?
Who else is driving?
You're driving. A couple of people have sort of said, you must be crazy going back to first response, having gone through what happened. And I can see the point, but I know that I'm really good at this. Stay where you are! I'm a Coast Guard rescue swimmer, I'm coming to get you! People still need somebody to go and help them. So I feel, going back to the sort of sense of purpose, I'm feeling a lot better about my life now. Okay. You should be able to stand up now, John. Earlier last year, I was awarded a commission by Spirit of the Highlands. And at that time, I was serving in an independent lifeboat crew called ESRA, which stands for East Sutherland Rescue Association. And I thought it'd be quite nice to dedicate the plates to ESRA and the crew. The fact that I was a first responder and then having to deal with that trauma, and then, having chosen to photograph fellow first responders, I feel like now it's a full circle. It's funny when I sort of think back to, the start of wet plate, and actually even before that, picking up Dad's camera for the first time. I'm in a completely, different, much more healthy place now. And, I think without wet plate, I don't know if there's anything in the world that is capable of, or would have been capable of doing that for me.